And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show, and this is going to be episode 377. So I hope you guys had a great day, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your week that is ahead of you. And in this episode of the MSK show, I am going to be having a conversation with the culture nerd once again, and this is going to be his third appearance on the show. Love talking to Taylor sometimes whenever we get to do this, because there's always like a whole bunch of shit that ends up happening before we end up talking, and then when we do end up talking, we can't even cover most of this shit because there's just too much shit going on. It's always just too much stuff going on. There was one time I didn't even get a chance to ask you this because this will make or break me liking you, dude. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Depends on where you came from. So I grew up in California, and pineapple was something that we had on pizza because it was a California thing. But I always say that it's only allowed in certain climates and how fresh it all is. If it's canned pineapple, no. If it's fresh pineapple, maybe. But you also have to be in the right temperature, the right humidity. Like, there's a lot of factors for me to justify it. Outside of California, no.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it. Like, people always say, oh, it's because you never tried it and you just listening to someone who said they don't like it. No, I've tried pineapple pizza, guys. It tastes terrible. Like, when I bite into it, you get this weird acidic fruit and then you get melted hot cheese. It just doesn't do it for me. But everyone at my job loves pineapple on pizza. 2 people can't have it because they're allergic, so they would die if they actually ate it. But only me and some other girl from like Guam don't like it. It's like, what did pineapple do to make people super obsessive? It's like pineapple on pizza is like that one thing on the internet that makes or breaks people. The same way it's like
does a guy facing in the front or in the back? Like, that's
that's a big one. Or the other one is like, does a guy pay on the first date? And it's like, I always looked at it like this: if you're inviting someone out, I think you should do it. I think that's my common courtesy. I think that was always common courtesy.
If you initiate the plans, you are expected to. So if she asks you on the date because it's 2025, then it's her expectation to pay the date. But most of the time, it's never that way because we're very old-fashioned. And most guys, even if that was the case, if a girl says, hey, let's go on a date, the guy would probably still try to pay on the first date if they were at least had some sense of chivalry to them.
Yeah, and now there's all of these like people talking about like how much a guy should pay on a first date. I've always said this. Since I know that a lot of girls are going to have like, especially if you're a single girl, you're going to have a bunch of guys in your DMs. You're going to obviously like try to weigh out which guy is the best one because, girls get that option. Unlike us, we're like, we're dealing with like 1 or 2 girls. Most of the time, girls can be dealing with like 30 different guys in their DMs, pending the social media age. And I think if you're taking a girl out for the first date, I'll even say Starbucks is good. Less than $30 because you don't know if this girl's going to call you back with all these other guys that she's talking to, or if you made a good first impression. Like, these people that say that you got to spend like $100 on a first date. No, you should be spending less than $100 on a first date, less than $40. Because that way, if she doesn't message you back, it's no harm, no foul. Like, $20 is nothing at the end of the day. It's $20.
And I grew up in a bit of a different time, I guess, because I'm pushing 40 now, and I met my wife when I was in my early 20s. And we got together 16 years ago and got married 16 years ago.
And you got married in 2009? Holy shit.
Yeah, sounds about right. No, was that how long ago it was?
You said 16 years, so probably 2009, 2010 period. Jesus Christ, that's a long time. Yeah.
So when I say that it's very different now than it was then, it's kind of an understatement because a lot can change in a very small amount of time. But at the same time, if you initiate the date, it's on you. Depending on where you want to take her, that's really what it comes down to. Some guys really want to impress, and if they say, oh, we're going to go somewhere fancy. So if whatever you invite her on the date, you are obligated to pay that accompanying amount. So you don't have to spend like crazy amounts if you don't take her somewhere absolutely insane.
Right. Yeah.
And it really just comes down to that. I mean, if you
I even suggested McDonald's.
Right. I always say that if you want to take her somewhere fancy to show off, then you're on the hook for whatever you do.
Right.
If you want to take her somewhere that she's never been before and you know it's a steal, that's fine too, as long as it wows her. You just have to do the right way of doing it and just be a gentleman the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also think that, if you're going to be a single guy and you're going to try to, date women in this climate, which is almost impossible at this point, spending all this money is just only going to make you feel worse when she doesn't even message you back. Imagine going on a first date now. You spend like $100. on some fancy restaurant and she doesn't mess you back, you're gonna feel like, all right, I just wasted my money there. I tell people this, like, hey, what girl doesn't like Chick-fil-A? Dude, I love Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A and first date's fucking great. Hell
All
yeah.
right. Fun story. My wife had never been. I grew up in California, and I had a Chick-fil-A and an In-N-Out down the street from my house, and they shared like a parking lot. So that was like my go-to a lot. But she never had that. So it was only maybe 2 weeks ago that I took her to Chick-fil-A for the first time.
It's 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, because
really, holy
where
shit.
we live up here in Washington, there's like 3 total in the state.
Oh,
and
okay.
they finally started adding more. So we started getting one, and maybe like 7 months ago, 8 months ago when they built it, I was like, we'll go when it's not insane, because people are stupid for Chick-fil-A sometimes. So we finally took her, and I sat down. I'm like, she's like, I was like, what do you want? And she's like, oh, I like, just choose for me. So I picked something out, and then I picked her meal, and then I picked a set of nuggets, and I wanted one of every sauce so she could try it out.
Yeah.
And I kind of just sat there and watched her eat it. I was like, tell me what you think. And she started going at it, and she's like, okay, I get the hype. It makes sense. And I did the same thing with her with In-N-Out about 15 years ago when we went to California for the first time together. And I was like, let's try this. And I ordered her off the secret menu so she knew what it actually would be like.
Yeah.
And yeah, it went well. And Chick-fil-A was a big win for her, surprisingly.
Like, In-N-Out, I had just had it recently. Someone gave me their fries that they ordered because they ordered extra fries or something like that. And the fries are always going to be hit or miss for me. It just depends. Like, if they're fresh out of the vat, I think they're pretty good. But if
they are fresh, and that's the thing. They actually cut them in the building like 10 feet from you, and then they throw them in the thing. So if you're eating there, everything's fantastic because it's all very fresh. But if you take it home with you, you have like a half an hour.
Roughly,
where it's like, okay, it's not so great anymore because you're missing the magic of the freshness. So it really, the
burgers, I will say, are pretty good. For me, I've always liked Five Guys. Five Guys and Chick-fil-A for me are like the best ones. But I think Chick-fil-A does edge out because Chick-fil-A has those grilled chicken nuggets, and those things are amazing. Those things are sent from God.
It was really funny because
go ahead. Sorry. You're fine.
I was saying it was really funny because a lot of people like. I was having this conversation at work because my day job, I work at a hospital, and I was talking to a bunch of the staff, and they were like, oh, Chick-fil-A is so great. And I'm like, it's great, guys, but I grew up with it. And then somehow we got in this conversation about like, oh, they're so funny with their advertising campaigns with all the cow things. And I'm like, funny that you bring this up. And I brought up the fact that my grandparents they were graphic artists before they retired. And they were actually the ones who did that, all the graphic art and the work for that whole visual campaign. And they were like, no, you're lying. And I pulled up a picture of my grandma and her husband making like the billboards. And it showed them like painting the cows saying, eat more chicken and all that stuff. And they were like, that's not real. I'm like, no, that's very real. And that's how we had Chick-fil-A all the time for free when I was a kid, because they had like one of those corporate cards. They got free food because they did all the graphic art for them. So I thought it was hilarious. But yeah, it came up. It was a funny conversation that people were like, no, you're full of shit, dude. And then I was like, no, it's not. Here it is. And then they Googled it, and they're like, oh, no, you're not full of shit. Okay, that makes sense.
Well, how's work been, man? I haven't talked to you in a while, so how's things going at work? Things going pretty crazy still at the hospital?
It's the end of the year, so we always have people who try to get in right at the end to meet their deductible for their insurance, and that's a whole other battle. And they're like, oh, I need this procedure like next week. I'm like, dude, this procedure's been blacked out for 6 weeks because people are doing exactly what you're doing, but learned that they need to ask in September if they want to get it done by December. So I have to have these like awkward conversations with people. I'm like, dude, this is not happening. I can see you in February, but no, not next week. Sorry, bro.
Yeah. Good Lord. I also imagine it gets very busy for hospitals for holiday season because, everyone's traveling. So you have car accidents, you have people jumping off roofs at their crazy parties they always have and shit. Oh my God.
There's so much. And then there's even in Washington, we had this crazy series of rainstorms that has caused like half of the state to overflood right now. So we have pretty much every part of the state that's near a river is now flooding. And that's quite a bit of the state. So we're just seeing a lot of insane things coming about because of just the ridiculous weather that we've seen the last 3-4 days. So
the very first time you were ever on the show was episode 16. That was a year ago. And the last time you were on the show, which was 11 months ago, which was episode 126.
Was it really that long ago?
Good Lord.
feel like it was a lot more recent. I feel like there was something.
Well, last time you were on, Charlie Kirk was still alive. That's crazy. That's insane.
I mean, he died in September. Yeah, so that was. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess. Yeah.
Fucking hell, dude. Man. So I never actually got a chance to ask you this. How do you deal with like people dying since your job is essentially like in a hospital? Did it ever like rattle you when it first started, or you became like some major drunk or something? Because some people told me that worked at a hospital, they just get drunk. That's how they deal with it. I'm pretty sure it's not healthy.
That is a very common thing that I see a lot of people do. They go to substances, they go to abuse, and that's way of coping. And coping is a very interesting thing for people, because you can't really like tell them how to do it or how not to do it. Like,
yeah.
Sorry if I'm distracted too. My son
That's
knocked
okay.
over a Christmas tree, and I have like 8 ornaments I'm putting back together.
Well, the little guy knocked it over.
Yeah, so I have 3, one who's 17, a 4-year-old, and an 18-month-old. And the 4-year-old wanted to get something off the top of the tree and knocked it down. And he broke R2D2, so I had to glue him back together. He broke Boba Fett in his throne, and I just re-glued his legs and arms back onto him. The Mandalorian had lost his arms and legs. Now they're back on him. And my Green Ranger was the one in the most pieces, and he is now all together again.
No. Okay, good. That's good.
And I'm now fixing my wife's Central Perk friends ornament.
You wanted to go back into the raising the young ones. I knew your oldest kid is like almost gonna be 18 years old, but the youngest were like 4 and like almost 1 at this point.
Yeah. Well, no, he's 18 months now, so he turned 1 over the summer, and
okay,
we're about halfway. So no.
So now you're gonna be when he's gonna be 2. That's gonna be. Everyone always says 2 is the worst age for them because they just want to get into everything.
He's already doing that, so he actually started a few months early, which is just the best. So we are now dealing with an 18-year-old who's already in his terrible 2s very prematurely. So
when you brought him home, was he one of those babies that like cried every 2 hours, or he was the one that kept you up all night?
He was actually the best one of the 3. He did not have any issues whatsoever. He slept through the night. Everything was great. And then he's making up for lost time now with all the recent new behaviors.
What's it? Bedtime? Bedtime, I heard, is the worst when they're at that age.
Yeah. They choose violence, and that's just what they do. But this kiddo, he's not doing that now. So now he is. Now he's decided that bedtime is whenever he chooses, and bedtime also means I'm going to freak out until you put me in your bed with you because I don't want to sleep in my own yet. So he was in his bassinet and crib the entire time. Everything was great up until now, and now he's become very codependent. So now we're just dealing with that.
Well, so how did it happen for you in the hospital when you saw other people cope with like substances? Did you end up dabbling in that? Or you're like, I'm not gonna do that.
No, so I actually I was very much the opposite. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of that stuff.
Me neither.
I'm very clean. They say very straight edge. Just I don't do any of that stuff. My biggest vices in life are copious amounts of sugar and caffeine, and that's
really, coffee does that.
I actually don't like coffee. I think it tastes like twigs.
Okay.
So I just drink like my body weight in Dr. Pepper most weeks. So it's really about it. But no, I see a lot of people do it. And I think it also comes from a philosophical and religious viewing of how you understand death and how you see death. I'm very religious, so my views of death are very different than the next guy, and I don't see death as necessarily a bad thing. I see the worst part of death being the people that are left behind, not the people that are lost. So I don't see it as necessarily a bad thing. And the only time I've had death rattle me was maybe 3 or 4 times in my personal life. And when it comes to being at work, I feel bad for the people that are losing someone, and I try to be there for them. But I never drown myself in sorrow for someone that I got to know who passed away, because I'm happy that they're now no longer suffering, or I'm happy that they're moving on to the next journey in their life. Like whether or not the afterlife is real, that's up to your own views of God and the universe.
Yeah.
But if it's nothing, then the suffering is over. If it's something, then it's another journey to go ahead with. So I don't see anything as it being necessarily bad. It's just how I've always seen it. So
speaking of you being religious, I know there's this thing now that's debated amongst like Christians on Twitter and social, like Instagram places, where like, let's say an OnlyFans girl or a girl that's been ran through by like 40 different guys, if she just wanted to become a Christian, so what would be the Christian way of doing things? You just accept her, you take her word at it, and you just kind of see what her actions show. Because I know in the
right?
Yeah, the Bible
I
says
mean,
that. Yeah.
I always say that, like, for people who judge others, like, you clearly missed the point, right? I mean, like, Jesus himself hung out at like hung out with like prostitutes and beggars,
Mhm.
and like he was there saying like, I'm going to help these people. I'm going to be there for them because you've all, as society, turned your back on them. So his whole example has always been to find the best in people and to help them become better. And it's not his, like, even he didn't judge these people, and like he's the guy
Yeah, the
who's supposed
famous
to
whole
judge them.
he who cast the first stone. That whole famous thing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he was without sin, and he was the only guy without sin, and he chose not to. So it's like, I always said that you can't, like, everyone who says, "Oh, I can't believe they did this. This is," but they start judging a former porn star who decided to turn the leaf,
Was it
quit the
Nala?
industry.
Right. Yeah.
There's a few, right? There's at
Yeah.
least 5 or 6 at this point in
Nala
the last few
was the
years.
big one, and she ended up getting married
Yeah,
recently. Yeah.
and I've heard that there's others, and I don't
Mhm.
really follow that stuff, so I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's great, that's cool. That, um, and even if it's not like turning to religion or just deciding to be better, like I've always felt that judging someone by their past when they're trying to make a difference now, that's disingenuous. Like, you have to see them at their at right now and let them, if their journey is taking them into a place where they're trying to be better, help them be better. Don't judge them for what they did 5 years ago. Judge them for what they are right now.
Mhm.
And I always, I get annoyed when people try to like dig up dirt and look at receipts and look at all these things and say, oh, look at what you used to be. It's like, but that's the point, right? They're trying to not be that person anymore.
Mhm.
So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on it. I think people just need to start practicing what they preach, I guess. I think it's
Yeah.
really disingenuous when you have these Christian religious zealots who decide that they're going to shit on someone who's trying to
Like they're running just
literally
a bunch of
be
purity
better.
tests constantly. Feels like that's what a lot of fandoms do too. Like you can't be someone that just didn't know something. Like this happens in a lot of time in comic books
Yeah.
too, where like you'll say something that you potentially just didn't know because you were just ignorant, and it wasn't that you were purposefully doing it. People go, well, I knew it. You just don't know anything. You're a tourist, and I knew you were fake. It's like, dude, am I not? Am I just? Do I just have to know everything about everything? So I'm never wrong. It's like these weird
Just because
purity
I
tests.
didn't read that one thing that you just Googled right now doesn't mean that I'm a fake fan. Like, that to me is always one of the biggest gripes that I have with any fandom, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Every fandom, no fan is perfect.
Mhm.
Simple as that. No fan is perfect. I am a huge fan of a lot of stuff, with all my crap behind me. Like, I love
See?
Power Rangers, I
Yes.
love Tron, I love Star Wars, I got Ninja
Yeah.
Turtles, I got Transformers, I got a butt ton of Gundams over here. I
Love
love
me some Gundam, yes.
I love being a fan, right? And someone tries to argue with me, oh, you have hundreds of thousands of dollars of Gundam kits that you've built over the years. And I'm currently got one on my desk right now that I'm redoing because
Mhm.
the Netflix movie had a really cool design for that weird white Gundam that they made.
Oh, I
But
like
I
that.
really
Cool.
wanted to make it in the classic Gundam color. So I'm currently
Mhm.
painting a new one in like the blue and the yellows and the reds.
My favorite
And
one was always the Gundam that it was English double of my favorite's G Gundam.
oh, such a
I like
ridiculous.
Domu's Masters Gundam. I like the
Okay.
Master Gundam. That one looks so cool. I was
Uh,
always drawn to it as a kid. It looked so goddamn cool, especially when it had that gold mode and shit. I was like, oh, I
yeah.
love this thing.
When they went Super Saiyan, right? Like, they just were
Yeah,
like,
I loved
okay,
it. Yeah.
this is cool.
There was one that had a war chariot. I was like, this fucking show is awesome.
I liked almost the overtly racist
Yeah.
caricatures that every character had. Like, the Mexican Gundam had like a sombrero and like some
Yeah, he
six
did.
shooters, and it was like, every time I see it, I'm like,
The
I love
American
this
one
for
just
what it
had
is.
guns. That was the
No,
thing. It just had
the
guns.
American one had 2 pistols and it was a
Yeah.
football player, and I'm like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. But it's fine. It's one of those things that has, it's like, it's ridiculous, almost racist commentary on the world
Yeah,
is part of
yeah.
its charm.
Wasn't there a big thing
Um,
like this virus was gonna come and corrupt people or whatever? That
there's a
was
lot. Yeah.
yeah,
That
man.
show is, it's such a wild one. It's such a departure from the rest. It's really the black sheep of the series.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it's not bad. It has its own charm and its own ridiculousness.
Mhm.
But what I was saying was like, so like
Yeah.
in that, for instance, I have so many of these things that I collect, and then someone will say, "Oh, did you ever see this one?" I'm like, "I haven't yet," and they're like, "Oh, you're a fake fan." I'm like, there's thousands upon thousands of hours and of content, and just because I haven't seen this one thing yet doesn't mean I don't love the other stuff. And it's
Mhm.
like, the art, the what constantly happens on the internet is, for instance, with the Snyder fandom,
Yeah.
right? They will act like the Snyder versions of these characters are the only versions that ever existed. And then the non-fans of the Snyder stuff and the DC fans that like the comics but didn't like Snyder will say that's not accurate because this reason and this reason. It doesn't matter. Each fandom is allowed to love what they love, and sometimes they can say stupid stuff, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean their opinions or their views are any less valid than the other person's. But my issue is when they start working in absolutes, kind of like the whole Sith thing, where like we don't deal in absolutes.
Yeah.
When they say,
I just always tell people it's just a different taste. That's all it really is. You know, also, and if someone is talking to someone like that, if someone is so insecure about their own opinion, they can't voice it in a way where it doesn't get into that territory. That's someone that I don't even talk to anyway.
That's it. Exactly. Right. Like,
yeah.
And that's what I always try to say to people is like, what you're saying is not a fact. It's an opinion, and it's okay to have that opinion, but it's everyone is allowed to have their own opinions. And if you're so insecure in how you view something that you're now attacking others for having that opinion of something that contradicts yours, that sucks for you. Like, I hate that. It doesn't mean that their opinion or your opinion is any less valid. It just means that you should probably just disagree. I mean, agree to disagree and then move on.
Yeah.
I liked what Zack Snyder did. I liked it a lot. I have a lot of his stuff. I have Funko Pops for days of all those limited edition ones they made for that series. I also love what James Gunn is doing. I love these characters. And I don't care if it's one or the other. Like, I just think...
Because like you mentioned, whether it be on Twitter or on Instagram, the weird thing with Snyder fans, even though I don't really like Zack Snyder's DC movies all that much, and I told people, hey, if you like them, that's fine. I would love to have a discussion with people about, hey, what did you like about these that I didn't see? But when now on Twitter, even though I actually kind of agree with Snyder fans, they're getting blamed for just random shit that doesn't even make any sense. Like Superman didn't do well at the box office. That's Snyder fans' fault. What? That goes into like Trump derangement syndrome levels. Now everything Snyder fans fall. Like, what? That's crazy.
No, and there's actually data that proves that, but it's also very misunderstood and misconstrued because for like 10 years, you had the Snyderverse as the main continuity of DC. So when they said we're going to reboot it, people were jaded and they were very hesitant about it. But that's why the movie made its money and it did okay, but it made all of its profits from home releases. And people saw that numbers and they're like, look, it made a lot of money on home release. It made over $100 million in pure profit from home release. Mm-hmm. That's huge. And that tells you that it took the whole movie to come out in theaters for then people to say, oh, maybe it is different. The word of mouth is different. So there was a lot of like actual data that said that, yes, the Snyder, not the fans, but the Snyder movies were a huge part.
Well, you all also have this thing where, like, if you tell people the thing that they invested years and years and years into watching is now is just gone and it doesn't mean anything and it doesn't matter anymore, they're going to be turned off. That's why even if this universe is not doing, like, some people are saying it's not doing well financially, even if it is or isn't, they can't reboot it again because that will straight up just kill people's interest in believing that this company can build a cinematic universe for these characters in general. Now they kind of have to keep putting out movies because if they don't, that just shows them, that just tells us that, hey, they don't have faith in this stuff anymore, you know?
Well, and the thing is, it's already off to a great start. Peacemaker and Creature Commandos did absolute banger numbers for HBO, so they're fine on that front. Superman made a profit, and that's a big thing, that it actually made a profit, and it had a higher profit value than Man of Steel did. So they already know just from just the pure numbers that the DCU is off to a better start than the DCEU was. And they really need to see where it goes going forward. So if Supergirl's a hit, if Man of Tomorrow is a hit, then they're in great standing. But I always get kind of like annoyed when the Snyder fans are like, oh, they killed it so soon. I'm like, but guys, they killed the Snyderverse in the second film.
Yeah.
Like when they were putting out Batman v Superman, they had him cut 30 minutes of legitimate story content out of that film. And then they fired him from Justice League, which he was currently filming. They killed the Snyderverse before it even started. So everyone who's saying that, oh, we had 10 years of Zack Snyder's movies. No, we didn't.
Actually, no.
We had like 3 years of it. And then we had the remaining time of other directors trying to shoehorn their views into what they thought Snyder was doing, which they weren't. Like Aquaman, the studio told him what to make. And he even said that he had to fight to make some of the references stay from what Snyder did. Mm-hmm. And then same thing happened with literally every other film that they did that was tied to that continuity. it was all kind of these series of retcons and half measures to kind of shoehorn it back into that universe. But the only film that was technically part of the Snyderverse that wasn't interfered with was Man of Steel. And that's it. Everything else since then was butchered from the ground up by the studio interference.
And people, I know you're gonna remember this because it was a while ago. Like the amount of the love that they were trying to give Snyder when they first brought him on. You remember that stream they had where they announced all these movies and everything? Like people forget when. Yeah, remember?
Yeah.
And when BVS came out, people forget opening weekend after like the interviews and stuff. I forgot to remember, correct me if I'm wrong. He was already filming Justice League. Weren't they already filming Justice League when BVS was releasing in theaters worldwide?
They started a few months before it even released. They're already working on the project. And,
yeah, they were really moving fast. They actually liked Snyder pending the fans' reaction to the movies, you know, but they got reactionaries. They were like, you know what? This fan said this. We got to cut you loose. And it's like, that's pretty cutthroat. But as you always said, that's business. That's how they handle things in Hollywood.
That's definitely how they handle things. And that was part of the whole industry at the time, because someone asked me a question on my weekly Q&A today when they're like, what does this mean for, or this mean like, and I just told them flat out, like, let me see if I can find it. It was actually the way they asked the question, I just brought out just kind of the obvious. Let me see if I can find it. A lot of people were asking me about about stuff I don't watch at all. So I was
they're probably asking you about Stranger Things, and you're like, I don't watch Stranger Things.
I actually watch it. I'm actually pretty excited for the finale. But they're like asking me about what did you think of John Cena's final match, and I'm like, I actually didn't watch it because I don't watch wrestling, but everyone in my team loves wrestling and they're telling me it was amazing, so maybe I'll sit down and watch it.
I don't watch wrestling either. I'm not a nerd, actually, you know. I don't not into naked dudes throwing each other around. Not my thing, actually. There's enough drama in comic books, actually.
There was one spot.
Miss Sparkle says, I just want to say hi. What's this dude's opinion on women? He's married. That's it.
I'm married. I love my wife.
Pretty sure we love. What? Oh, she's doing Chick-fil-A. I looked up the menus and expensive. You guys are in Washington. She's in Washington too. Washington's an expensive state. Holy crap.
It is an expensive state. The state's kind of messy with the unnecessary taxes to fuel the machine on one side of the state, while the rest of the state is like, what the hell? We can't survive that. So it's very weird bipolar state. Let me see. There was
does
one
this
in
give
here.
you PTSD? Everything gives me PTSD now on the internet. Everything gives me that. If things didn't give me PTSD, I would be actually just shocked at this point.
Someone asked me, why does Warner Brothers keep getting bought and split every few years? The pattern seems to be constantly on repeat. And my answer was pretty straightforward. Warner Brothers is one of the oldest studios in the industry. And it has a legacy that people actually try to grab onto and be a part of. And unfortunately, we saw a handful of people buy the studio who didn't understand how studios worked, became very reactionary, and then every time something went wrong, they would freak out, make a mistake, and then sell the studio. And that kept happening. And the only time we've actually seen Warner Brothers, maybe in the last 15, 20 years, not be as reactionary is actually recently. Like, for all the crap that they give David Zaslav for how he's done WB, and he's done some weird stuff, made some very weird choices. This is the first time that Warner Brothers has been in a power position where you now have people fighting to own them. And they didn't even solicit that they wanted to be sold. They literally were like, we're going to separate our company so we can be stronger without the baggage that other people brought in. And now we have Netflix on its monumental deal that has been higher than any deal that has ever existed in Hollywood. And then Paramount is coming in for a hostile takeover. And they want it no matter what. And they're willing to break laws to do it. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes.
So when is that decision going to be finalized with what they're going to do with Paramount?
Paramount's already been rejected 7 times.
I remember that.
And now Paramount is saying we're not taking no for an answer. They give these like rapey ex-boyfriend vibes where they're just we're gonna do what we want and you're gonna like it.
That sounds like Diddy.
God. And so I got this email from my stockbroker that I've been offered a voluntary my shares have been voluntarily a voluntary offer has been made to me that they will pay me $30 a share for all my shares.
How much shares do you have in?
Enough to know that I'm not doing it. Because honestly, I don't want Warner Brothers sold in general. I I think with Netflix, if Netflix does buy it, then they at least have a chance to not have massive layoffs because Netflix is literally buying it so they can have a footing in the game.
Yeah.
So they're not trying to dismantle and gut the studio. They want that studio and its
Right.
entire current system. Paramount has a studio down the road from them. They have all of these things. If they buy Warner Brothers, it becomes a redundancy, and they've already laid off 1,000+ people with plans of laying off 1,000 more.
Mm-hmm.
If they buy Warner Brothers, we're going to see thousands upon thousands of people also get laid off.
And Paramount already has debt. People actually know that when they merged with Paramount, had to merge with Skynet. Like they were doing.
Yeah, Skydance came in and was like, "We're going to do this, and we're going to own you, and then we're going to gut you." And now they want to do the same to Warner Brothers, and I'm like, "No, Skydance is not who I want anywhere near this deal."
Do you remember that quote where that one insider, it was on Variety or Deadline or THR, where they said it was an insider that said, "Why is Paramount even in the streaming game?" Like people were actually questioning why Paramount was even a streaming platform too, because they have Paramount Plus, and I like Paramount stuff. I think Paramount puts on some great stuff, but why do they need a streaming service? Like it feels like a weird vanity project for a lot of these companies to have a streaming service, because that, like you said, that's jobs, you have marketing, you have to have content, you have to film content, paychecks, and all that stuff. It's like, man, that's why I actually like what Sony did when Sony had that Netflix deal where their movies go to Netflix after the theatrical window. Sony doesn't have a streaming service. They don't care about that. Like, why? You know,
they get more money just from licensing than they do anything else, and that's actually still what Warner Brothers does. Warner Brothers has HBO, but they still make close to $1 billion a year just off of licensing to Netflix and Hulu and all those other companies. They don't need to funnel that into HBO to recoup that money. They make it just by saying, for 6 months you can have this show.
Yeah,
and then when we're done, we can do another deal.
Weren't they doing?
And they make a lot of money doing that.
HBO Max for like $2.99. There was a really good deal on HBO Max recently, $5.99 for 12 months. That's crazy. That thing is like some really cool $20
deals going on.
Yeah.
And nobody at Warner Brothers wants Paramount to be in this conversation. They've denied it so many times that it's just silly at this point.
Yeah,
and they're still trying. So now we have this company who doesn't want them to be in the room, and they're not taking no for an answer. And Warner Brothers is like, you can try to hostile take over us, but we'll see what happens. Because what will happen, and this is my honest, maybe my insider knowledge on this, maybe this is just my own opinion. It's kind of all of the above if you want to take it for what it is. If somehow enough shareholders are myopic enough to think that Paramount is the better deal, and they sell their shares to Paramount, and somehow Paramount gets a majority shareholding, and they try to fire everybody and try to fire the board, try to fire all that stuff, so they can install their own people and do all that, it becomes a bigger issue where it becomes a time issue, right? So they announce, we have a majority shareholding, we're going to do this. Netflix is already prepared to go in and buy enough shares to have the majority if that's the case. Like, they're actually actively doing the same thing, but just quietly. But it's all the same thing where they're all trying to protect Warner Brothers from being dismantled by Paramount.
Which one was offering cash in hand? I'm pretty sure it was Netflix that was offering cash in hand.
Yeah, or Netflix basically said, Netflix's offer was allowing Warner Brothers to do what it wanted to do, to separate Discovery and all the other stuff from them. And then when you're done separating, we'll buy you after the fact with X amount of money. And if the deal doesn't go through, we'll give you $6 billion just for letting us be in the room.
Yeah.
Right? Good deal. Right? And Warner Brothers is very aware that the FCC and the FTC probably won't allow the deal. So they're thinking that, okay, we get what we want and we may get a big paycheck out of it. That sounds not bad.
And then also, if the deal doesn't go through, they're going to split the company anyway.
Yeah, they were going to anyways. That was the whole goal, was to split the company.
Right.
Now they're told that they get to split the company, but they're also possibly getting a bigger investment or just a nice pocket change with their new studio.
Because there was one thing that came up in all of this with comic book people. They're like, what happens to DC Comics if Netflix buys them? Guys, just be honest with you. Batman t-shirts make more money than a Batman comic book. I'm pretty sure Netflix just won't care. That's what it would be. We don't care it exists. It makes no money. Whether it exists or not makes no difference. We just don't give a fuck. I'd imagine that's literally what's going to be. Guys, you can make more money selling Batman lunchboxes to your 4-year-old son than make more money than doing a comic book. This is what it is. That's kind of fucked up and sad, but that's what it is. You
Yeah.
know, like no one
No,
really cares what happens in the comic books in these kind of spaces. Like, does Disney have people walk into Marvel's rooms like, your comic books make us no money, scrap it all? They don't. It's one of those
no.
like, he's just a lost leader.
The way that it's always been is that these studios will allow it to continue as long as it's turning a profit, or they can justify why it needs to continue.
Yeah, just a tax write off. That's
Yeah.
all it is. Yeah.
So
God.
I don't for a second think that any of this stuff is like a problem. I'm not worried at all that DC Comics is going to potentially be in the hands of Netflix, because Netflix, they don't care as long as it
I
makes
just
money.
don't think.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh God. The other one was the theater operations, because apparently they have a deal with the theaters that lasts till 2029 about
Yeah.
distributing movies. Now, people have speculated, like myself, like after that year, can Netflix kind of do whatever they want with the company? Because right now
Sure.
they're going to say things like, okay, we'll do this and this, and because you're right, they're going to let them operate the way they're going to operate if it goes through by the end of the fourth quarter next year, 2026. But like, yeah, like I said before, they're very money oriented, way different than Warner Brothers. If they see profit margins go down or up, depending on what it's going to be, they're going to enact their own way of doing things. It's going to be their
Yeah.
own people that look at money a different way and how things should be done. You know, that's what I'm worried about. Like, they're saying this stuff right now, but when 2030 comes, if movie theaters aren't doing as well, do they just go, hey, you have less theatrical releases because it doesn't justify the amount of money we're going to, put into these things? I don't know yet,
It totally depends on where the market goes, and that's kind of the thing, is that they're willing to allow it to continue as long as the money's still coming in. But we don't know where theaters are going to be in a few years, because
Right.
nobody knows where the theaters are going to be in a few years, because COVID kind of caused so much damage to theaters
Yes, you did.
that
Yeah.
it's really hard to say that theaters can exist currently the way they've done before. And if in a few years the numbers are worse, then maybe the whole industry changes. But what we have seen in the last few years is that streaming is not the answer, and Netflix knows that too. Netflix knows that dumping entire series on same day has not made them any more money.
Yeah.
So they know that the way to change this is to probably adapt a different method, and that's why they started doing the week to week releases for certain things.
Right. Yeah.
So they're already changing because they know that their old model of licensing content and throwing it all at once doesn't work.
From what I heard, they just wanted to increase subscribers. So like, if they made a new show, if it didn't increase the subscribers in any meaningful way, they just canceled the show. And it's like, but there's so much content on Netflix. Like, I remember when I had it, I would spend about 15 to 20 minutes trying to pick something to watch. So it's like, and you probably know too, Netflix is really bad at marketing. Like, despite having pretty much the biggest streaming platform in the world, the marketing seems to be fairly non-existent to bad. Because, like, I know they have geeks and everything. I know on their own YouTube channel they try, but it's just not enough. It feels weird because they're putting in money to market, but it's not hitting the core demographics actually.
And that's actually one of the biggest things about it, that why they want Warner Brothers here, because Warner Brothers is an old school studio that knows how to market a project still. They know how to make their money last. They know how to stretch a dollar to where it needs to go. And that's actually why they're so interested in this deal, is that they want what Warner Brothers has. They don't want to change it. They want to give Warner Brothers more of a footing in the streaming market, because HBO and Netflix combined would have a majority shareholding of streaming. It would be the highest jump, because ever since Disney came into it, Disney's made a huge chunk of it. Yeah. So you add those two together.
You also have Prime, but I think most people have Prime because it's free shipping. That's why I have it. Well, now they have live sports too, so that's even
they got a little bit
plus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Spurs versus the Knicks Emirates Cup. What year are we in? What year is this? The Knicks versus the Spurs in the finals? Oh God. But the Lakers aren't there because, we just kind of suck sometimes. But no, it's odd because streaming. Do you remember what streaming was before the pandemic? You would ask people like, "Hey, do you have Netflix?" They go like, "Yeah." Like, you watch it sometimes. It was that's the feeling that streaming had. But ever since after COVID, streaming just took over in a way that you never would have thought had that pandemic not happened. I kind of like to think of a world where the pandemic didn't happen. What would streaming be? Because streaming really wasn't all that big before 2020. I remember it was like people would say they have it, but it wasn't like this big of a priority where they literally only were watching movies there. They were at least attempt to go to the theaters. Like you had theaters still doing somewhat relatively well,
Yeah,
and now consumer habits are basically, is this movie a justified price for me with tickets for me to go to the theater and have a good time, or I could just wait 3 weeks and it's there because you have a family too, man. It's expensive going to the theaters, right?
expensive.
So,
Yeah,
and that big movie is gonna be on a streaming service in 3 weeks. It's like, what is the incentive to go there? It's gonna be there in
right.
3 weeks. All you do is just wait. You tell consumers wait with the cheapest possible option. People are gonna wait it out. I mean,
Mhm.
people
And that's what they've
literally,
been doing, and that's why the
yeah,
box office has been struggling ever since COVID. And what I thought was very interesting was that the Netflix deal is that Netflix is basically saying we want to extend the length of movies in theaters, and instead of it being 6 weeks and then going on to streaming, we want to move it back to the 8 to 10 weeks that it used to be, maximize the amount of money we can get out of it. That way, we can recoup as much cost as possible, and then we put it on streaming. And that actually is how studios used to make their money. And with merchandise, like Warner
yeah,
Brothers has been historically, they make their most money out of merchandise.
I would
Like
imagine, yeah,
it's like Star Wars, for instance. Star Wars made banger money in theaters, but
yeah,
it made more as toys.
yeah.
And that's really what Netflix is aware of. That if you have anything, you have to have merchandise for it.
Mhm. And that's where Disney has kind of went into a red flag territory with Star Wars. It's like Star Wars toys not selling is a crazy idea. I remember Star
Yeah.
Wars toys, even when I wasn't really into Star Wars that much as a kid, I thought it was just for nerds. So it would always sell out. It always
Mhm.
was on. I remember I looked at my local Walmart. The same Ray toys that have been there like 9 years ago are still there.
Mhm.
Like this stuff isn't selling, and that was the fallback for like media back in the day. Your movie did like okay, at least you had toy sales, at least you had
Yeah.
merchandise. If you don't have your fallback, now you're kind of just screwed at this point. It's like, wow, this is really bad, you know?
And Disney really screwed themselves with how they handled Star Wars, because every time that it's like they take 2 steps forward and like 6 steps back.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like they're like, oh, we have a Mandalorian. Everyone loves it. But now we're going to take the next project that they wanted and
Hmm.
just say it's not going to happen. But we're going to give them something else and they're not going to like it.
Yeah.
And they don't. And then we're going to think that maybe they're the problem. So let's do it again and just do it differently. Like they're really out of touch with their own issues.
Do you think Mandalorian and Grogu is going to be a box office hit, or do you think it's
I
going
do.
to flop? Okay.
I think it's going to be good, especially because of what it is. And The Mandalorian as a show has always been successful. Everyone
Hmm.
loves it because it's been exactly what it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
And now we have basically what essentially was season 4 is now a movie.
Hmm.
And I think it could be great, honestly, if they do it right.
You're gonna get
So
single moms going. They're gonna go be like, "Oh my god, I love Baby Yoda." They're gonna have them all there. That's their
I,
audience is single moms now.
I I've also seen a lot of stuff from behind the scenes that I'm really excited about. The
Okay.
action is fantastic. I
Okay.
think that first trailer was cut absolutely terribly, and I
Hmm.
think they really just need to do a better trailer cut for the next one
Right.
because some of the Star Wars Celebration footage that came out that excited me, and then the footage that they put out for the trailer, I was like, that was a crappy trailer. Just put
Oh
that
yeah, it was bad. Yeah.
sizzle reel that you did,
Mhm.
and you don't need anything else.
This is the problem with trailers now, man. Is like trailers themselves. It's same with the Supergirl trailer that just came out. Like it'll come like a trailer will come out and it'll reveal like pretty much the entire movie, or
Mhm.
it'll be a trailer that comes out and you go like, nah, like what happened with the Supergirl trailer. Supergirl trailer, I was like, eh, like it didn't
Yeah,
really excite me or anything. I was like, all right. I mean, I can commend them for not revealing a lot because a lot of trailers have fallen into that trap a lot recently, but I was like, man, trailers have been all ups and downs. Like it'd be like the Mandalorian one, it's all just cut weird. They're fucking, you can't even see what action they're doing. It's all dark
yeah,
and shit. Like where I truly would like to know what goes through these people's heads when they make this stuff, you know?
yeah. I mean, it's
Anthony
interesting because
said, Taylor, I kind of disagree with you. I think that movies are gonna be I think that movie's gonna be a flop because no one's gonna go see it. They're gonna think it's a TV movie that Star Wars are just desperate to make.
maybe, but the Mandalorian has been one of the biggest properties of Star Wars since The Force Awakens. So I think that if people see, oh, there's a movie now for this thing,
Mhm.
maybe they'll go see it, or just the fans who see it on Disney Plus will know that this is the next part of the story, if not the conclusion to the story. So I think to me, it's like I'm old enough to say that when the X-Files was a big deal in the 90s, everyone who watched the show went and saw the movie. And the movie did great because they knew it was the next part of the show. So the movie didn't flop. It did exactly what they wanted it to. It just gave them a bigger platform to tell the next part of the story. So I don't think it's going to flop. I think people are going to go see it. And I think the fans of the show are going to go see it.
It's a teaser trailer. I don't think teaser trailers are supposed to excite you. Anthony, that's the goal of a trailer. The goal of a trailer is to get you excited for a movie, or to get you excited for some part of it, maybe. Because I watched it and I went, people thought it was Guardians of the Galaxy. I'll be honest here, I didn't really get that Guardians of the Galaxy vibe that people said. I felt like it was just a run of the. I felt like it was just a generic sci-fi movie. That's why I felt. That's the vibe that I got. You know?
When I was talking to my co-hosts about it this last episode, we were basically saying that, I can see why people think it's Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's fine. But you know what? It felt more like the movie that this director did right before Supergirl, and that was that Disney's Cruella, which was like that.
I did watch that one.
60s pop punk thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what the vibe I got. I didn't get Guardians of the Galaxy. I got that, like,
yeah, dude. I thought it was
vibe.
Crazy because I waited to watch the trailer until we talked about it on a video for the show, and I was like, okay, let me watch it. I didn't feel Guardians at all. It's because they had a song. Like, that's the dude. I've always said this, and I think I said this to you the last time, 2 times you came on. I think Guardians of the Galaxy, for as good as that first movie is, it did a lot of damage to people's brains about movie perception. The number one thing being a ragtag group of heroes getting together in space. They're like, oh, it's Guardians. Guys, that has been a concept in movies forever. That's what Star Wars was in the 70s. That's a group of people getting together, fighting people. Guardians has literally damaged people's brains about how they perceive movies. It's been like, people go, well, Guardians came out, and it was a random group of characters no one knows, and so it did well. But what about the other ones that didn't do well? And they were a bunch of random characters. Like, what? Guardians... How much I like that first movie. It's a fun movie. I like it. It damaged people's brains. You can't have a group of people anymore because people just think it's Guardians. How did that happen?
It's interesting because I feel like Guardians, for all its greatness, that all the stuff that it did right, Marvel as a whole tried to capture that vibe with every other film they did after that.
Yeah.
And they didn't know how to do it correctly, so it just made the humor stupid and disingenuous. James Gunn is the only one who knows how to do James Gunn humor. Because he riddles his dick and fart jokes with like actual substance storytelling.
He did it recently too. Truth, justice, and whatever. It's like, what? Like,
but that's the thing. It's like everyone was like, "Oh, this is that." I'm like, have you actually read the comic it's based on? Because that's literally the comic it's based on. Like, this whole story is about, this is a jaded version of Kara who
I am
doesn't
gonna be reading it.
like
I
the
actually
world.
bought. So I gave that book to someone. I rebought it when I got paid. I will be doing a review of it when I get it back in. I have to.
Give it a chance. It's honestly way cool. And the moment you read that book and you see the trailer, you're like, I see what they're doing now, and I'm on board. So
Anthony says, Taylor, the question is, how much of the box office can you rely on the people who watch this show? Because not everybody watch a show, and usually the box office is done by casual viewers.
Yeah, that's fine. But at the same time, Disney has never really cared about box office. Like, they put these things out because they need to. And a lot of their metrics are, again, merchandise and how their streaming does also. So I think the movie will do fine. I don't think it's going to be a flop. It's Star Wars, and Star Wars always does well. Even when it flops, it does well. Its version of a flop is still better than most flops. So I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be just a grade A flop.
I think for them, it's perception amongst the fans, because fan perception for Star Wars almost can sometimes even matter more than box office.
It does, and that's exactly how they did with Andor, right? Andor was one of their most expensive projects that they did.
Crazy.
But they made a second season solely because of the critical acclaim and how much fans wanted a second season, right? And then you have The Acolyte, one of the most expensive shows they've ever done, and it failed because people were pissed. It was derivative. It had good numbers, but nobody liked it. It got ripped apart by the fans.
Didn't they say in the first 3 episodes, people showed for that, dipped out, and then half of them came back for the last episode? That's terrible.
Yeah, but it still came. Everyone still came back and finished it when they saw the ending was there, but it didn't matter because there was the perception that fans had of it was that this isn't good, and we're going to trash it as much as we can. Yeah. And because of that, they decided not to make another one. Fan perception was key.
And then
And if
Leslie Headland
this
was like, it was because of toxic YouTubers. That's why it failed. And it's like, lady, I think we're a
no,
little past that.
it's because she didn't understand the source material and she pissed off everyone in every interview she did. So
Oh,
she
these people are
disrespected the
insane.
medium and the fans every time she opened her mouth. So
And people forget Disney's profits are more about their theme parks. 5% of their profits are from the movie industry, and the majority of those merchandising and theme parks.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing I try to tell people with the new Tron movie, right? I liked Tron Ares a lot. The soundtrack was fantastic. But ever since Tron Ares came out, yeah, it didn't do great in the box office. But what it did do was have a huge spike of people going to Disney World to do the Tron ride that now had a limited edition Tron Ares interface where they made everything red and they had the MCP take over the ride. So they saw a big flux and they saw a big jump in ticket sales and merchandise because of it. So I think that was actually more so what they cared about. And they got what they wanted, and now they can say, we made another Tron film, and now we can sit on it for 10 years.
So I think the last time you were on, we did talk about this. Maybe we didn't. No, it's for the first part of the year. So Brave New World to come out. So the MCU 2024, no, 2025. Good Lord. We're not 2024. We just had Deadpool Wolverine last year. What did you think about Brave New World? Did you like it, enjoy it? I didn't really care for it that much. I thought it was just, I didn't think worst MCU movie ever, like some people say, because I think there's way worse than that. But it was just,
Captain Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good Lord. That was a bad movie. Holy crap.
Captain Marvel was bad. The Marvels was also bad, but Brave New World, you could tell that it was rewritten and recut a few times.
Yeah.
My issue with it was that it was essentially an Incredible Hulk film without the Hulk. Like,
and it had Hulk villains too.
every one of them. Like, it was the two villains from the Incredible Hulk, but like, this is ridiculous. Like, why is Captain America fighting the resolution of the Incredible Hulk movie? Like, it's his sequel without him in it.
Yeah.
So I had some beef with it, and it also felt like it could have been a TV show better. Like, it really felt like it needed to be like 4 or 5 episodes and not a 2-hour movie.
But it also felt like Betty Ross. I forget the actress who plays her from the MCU. It felt like she wasn't even there in that final scene. It feels like that was
like she wasn't in the film. They used stock footage of her because they couldn't get her to come back. Which was it was a mess of a film, and you could tell that it was a mess of a film. And it was honestly, I felt bad for Anthony Mackie because if this was his first outing as the title character, they did him dirty because it was not their best effort.
It wasn't even the best leading man. Like, it feels like Harrison Ford led the movie most of the time. Anthony says, did you see that Universal is doing a backroom deal with Warner Brothers and DC to get the rest of their properties into the parks, and they're going to give Marvel theme park rights back to Disney?
Yeah.
Is that true?
That's true. That's true. Warner Brothers has not had its own theme park for a long time. And the closest thing that they had to anything was their deal with Six Flags. Six Flags had started going under. So Warner Brothers struck up a new deal with Universal to feature their DC characters in their parks. And it sounds like they're going the distance, and they're making like a life-size Hall of Justice and a life-size Fortress of Solitude for people to walk through. And they're going for it. And I'm honestly really excited about it because what Universal did with the Nintendo Land, imagining that to be what DC gets now is like, I'm going to walk around Gotham City. It's going to be dirty and terrible, and I love it.
What about Thunderbolts? What did you think about that one? I actually enjoyed that one.
Thunderbolts was probably one of the best movies of the year that everyone slept on because it was characters they didn't know anything about.
I watched it. I was looking for the usual MCU bad. I was like, this is pretty good. This is pretty solid. I felt like the story wasn't really much there. Like, it was a fairly like thin story, but overall, I was really entertained through the movie. I thought it was pretty good overall.
I liked it a lot, and I thought that my only gripe with the movie was that you can tell that the writer and the director had more on the plate, and Disney said, no, we're not going to do it because it's too dark. So you could tell that they were holding it back. Like, this movie could have been a lot more.
Yeah, I also think the new Avengers thing, like, these people are just the Avengers now because we say, I feel like just cheapens what it means to be one. But I understand.
That's the whole point, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, and that's part of the whole plot that they're going to carry into Doomsday was like, you're going to have the corporate sponsored Avengers showing up doing their thing, and then like the real Avengers coming in the background being like, okay, now there's 2 of us. This is awkward. But it's not going to matter because they're going to basically be like, we don't give a shit anymore about the titles. Let's go fight. And
Says Taylor, what are your theories on who is Scarlett Johansson is going to play in the Batman 2, and who do you think possibly Brad Pitt might be playing?
So the Brad Pitt stuff actually is old news. He was in talks. He's not in talks anymore. He already moved on. So everyone who's still saying that he is in the running, he moved on from it a while ago. Like this was something that they courted him a while back. The rumor that Scarlett Johansson is playing Duella Dent, Harvey Dent's wife, the Holiday Killer. I think that's also not going to be accurate because the initial word that we all got when they announced that she was coming out was that she was playing Bruce Wayne's love interest who becomes a villain, and you can't have the love interest be the wife of Harvey Dent because that's very messy right off the bat. So I don't think that's the case. I've honestly on our podcast we actually talked about how I personally think that she's playing Silver St. Cloud, and she's more than likely going to be a variation of the character that's changed from her comic origins to either be a member of the Court of Owls or manipulated by Hush and turns against Bruce at the end. So I don't see.
There was a theory today where people think she's going to be casted as the wife of Harvey Dent from The Long Halloween.
Yeah. So the Halloween killer who kind of was doing all the bad shit behind the scenes.
Yes, yeah. Because I read that story, you should. Long Halloween is great.
Yeah, Long Halloween is one of the Batman best books, but I don't think that's the case just because, like I said, I don't see her playing Harvey Dent's wife and Bruce's love interest in the same film because that's just too messy.
Yeah, people also had a theory of maybe she's going to play Beaumont, who's
Andrea Beaumont, the
Phantasm. Yeah, would they attempt? I don't know. Attempting that is crazy.
I think movie. I would like it. It'd be cool if she's Andrea Beaumont. I don't think it's the case just because Matt Reeves is very particular on the books that he likes to read and likes to draw inspiration from.
Yeah.
And the Mask of the Phantasm came out after his time. Like, this guy's in his 50s. He was in his 20s and 30s when that animated movie came out. He was probably already in a different era of his Batman journey when that came out.
Yeah.
So I don't see him being like as attached to that character as he was to like these characters that he clearly pulled from his comic book reading in the 80s. So I don't think it's Andrea Beaumont. I do think it's probably, if he does go someone more new like Hush or the Court of Owls, I think he's probably going to use a lot of stuff from his repertoire of comic book reading.
I think it might be. Because Hush would be a little bit more doable for a sequel, because Court of Owls in a sequel seems pretty hard to, like, unless you're going to count all the setup that goes into it too, which is, I don't think they're going to be able to do that for in at least a 2-hour and 30-minute movie, because we know that movie's going to be at least 2 hours and 45 minutes long. That first one was a slog to get through.
But the way I see it is that if he is going with something new like that, he's going to set it up. And I mean, we already saw him set up Hush in the first movie, so they've already made reference to it. So I could easily see them going the Hush route and then him using a lot of his 80s and 70s and 80s comic book characters to reinterpret Hush in a different way. So
what did you think about Fantastic Four that came out?
I was on the fence with it. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought it had some cool moments, but it also seemed like it was relying too much on nostalgia to, I don't know. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I thought it was fun, but it also was kind of it was missing some stuff it was missing something that would keep me from loving it. I can't really explain it. It was okay.
Okay. Let's do DCU, because it started, which is crazy. The DC started Creature Commandos. What did you think about Creature Commandos?
I liked it. It took a little while to get me to like it because it was one of those like, oh, this is really intense right off the bat.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. I liked it, but I don't know. I liked it. It's kind of like how I felt with Peacemaker. Like, I watched it, I liked it, and I'm not like in love with it.
Yeah.
The first season, I don't think I liked the first season of Peacemaker until I got about more than halfway through it. I'm like, okay, I think I like the show now.
Yeah.
And same with the second season. Second season, I thought second season was better because it was more of a character piece and it did more to develop the characters than to tell a big flashy story. So it was a lot more character driven, and I liked that a lot. But
what about that orgy scene? That orgy scene didn't turn you off?
That was the weirdest thing to me, because I think I think I remember saying on the podcast that like the DCU has existed for like a week at this point, right? Like we've had like one film, one animated show, and the second episode of their next show, all of a sudden there's dicks everywhere. And I'm like, guys, we're seeing more male nudity in the DCU within the first 4 hours of their content than MCU has ever even attempted. Something's weird here, guys.
It says, Taylor, does Vicky Vale make sense? Because remember, they're saying they're going to introduce Dr. Arkham in this movie.
Vicky Vale would be an interesting character to use because she is a character that is a love interest of Bruce. She's a journalist, and she does have those comic roots of also being a villain too. So that could make sense if they are going the Dr. Arkham route, which I had never heard that they were going that route until the rumors recently. So
yeah. What about Superman? I know everyone is divisive about Superman. It's weird. People said Man of Steel was divisive. I feel like James Gunn's Superman is just as divisive too. I feel like you either love it, hate it, or in the middle on it, honestly.
I think the film did a fantastic job of showing us the comic book Superman, and everything else about it was probably a little messy because it was very much 80s Superman comics. And unless you read those comics and understood the weird balance between cheesy humor of Superman and the weird sci-fi stuff that they were doing, then you probably weren't up to speed with it. Because most Superman fans are either people who see Christopher Reeve as Superman, or
they watch like Smallville.
They watch the shows, but they never read the comics in that time between those. And those comics are where James Gunn
about the John Byrne run. Yeah.
And that's clearly where he pulled a lot of inspiration from.
Yeah, the thing that I was a little upset about was like, why are you telling me this movie's based off All-Star Superman and there's really like no real influence there on it?
There was a little bit, but it was also more of John Byrne's Man of Steel comic than it was.
Yeah, yeah. Because my issue, because what did you think about the Jor-El thing? Because people don't understand, Jor-El in a few instances in the comic book wise has not been that guy that everyone remembers. But
honestly, Jor-El is a dick more than he's a saint in the comics. So every time when they're like, oh, they did him wrong, I'm like, technically they're just part of the actual majority of the comic book storytelling. That Jor-El as the benevolent father is the minority of how he's portrayed in the comics.
Yeah. Remember Smallville? Remember Smallville? He wasn't that saint guy.
No, he sucked in Smallville. Like in Smallville, like the first 5 seasons.
That. Yeah,
in the first 5 seasons, Jor-El was like, you're here to conquer. I'm going to train you to be a weapon. Oh, by the way, I don't like how you are. Now you're a weapon.
Remember, Clark was scared to go to him. People forget.
Yeah.
In later seasons, he was more willing to go to his dad. But in those first few seasons when we first met him, he was scared to go to him. He was like, my dad's crazy. I'm glad you guys raised me.
And that was the point. And I think they kind of fixed it as they went on the show where they're like, maybe we should not do that. And they kind of retconned it saying Jor-El was like, I was just trying to test you so you could appreciate being human more than Kryptonian. I'm like, good save, guys. I see what you did there.
I do find it funny when you have that Superman gif of him flying and his tongue is out with going to his harem.
That's such a funny one.
But I don't fully agree with the decision about that from James Gunn, but I do understand it from Kryptonians. I'm like, aliens probably wouldn't give a fuck about what happens on our planet if they wanted to conquer us. They wouldn't care. No. These are like sort of barbaric people, probably. I would assume.
What I see it as, this is a pragmatic species that's like about to be extinct, and they're like, we are about to all be gone. Our legacy, our culture is about to go away. We're going to send our kid to a planet where he is going to be a god. Maybe instead of being ostracized, he should just stand up and say, I'm a god, by the way. Like, from a pragmatic sense, it kind of makes sense, especially with the fact that they're aware that our son is going to survive this planet, and the only other female from this race that's going to be joining him is his cousin, and that's weird. So he should probably breed with the natives, but he should also be their boss because he's stronger than them.
Right.
So it makes sense, and historically, that's how conquerors have always seen it. Like, that's just what they do. So I understood it. I never saw it as like, to me, it was kind of a weird, like, I'm going to send you to Earth so you can guide them and be peaceful. Like, but Krypton has never been a peaceful utopian. It's always been, we achieved peace because we fought our way to the top. So it never made sense that they would be like benevolent in any depiction.
Yeah, it's weird because people will see Superman. He's from Krypton. Well, yeah, because he wasn't raised there though. That's the difference. And
Yeah,
General Zod, who's one of his constant villains, he was bred for war. Like you
yeah.
see this guy, the graphic, he's not like Clark. So you would have to assume there's some difference there. Anthony said, "Oh, sorry, Taylor. Who do you want to play Bruce in the DCU?" And I believe this is just my theory that when we get introduced to Damian, he's going to be around 17 to 18.
So I have a small list of people that I want to play Bruce, and most of them are in their mid to late 30s. I think that he needs to be older than Superman, but not much older. And in my mindset, Damian can be as whatever age they want him to be. I understand that they want Damian to be in like 10 or 11. And the idea was that they were going to be filming The Brave and the Bold and Titans and other thing right around the same time,
Right.
so they can keep him that age.
Yeah.
But the few people that have come up in my short list, I guess you could say, the guy who plays Spock on Star Trek Discovery, I think his name is Ethan Peck. I think he has the look that would be pretty good. There was that one movie that came out earlier this year, The Monkey. I think his name is like Theo James. I saw The Monkey, and that movie was ridiculous, right? I loved it. It was weird. It was funny. It was quirky. But the actor played two different characters in that film, and they were so different than each other that I watched it. I'm like, I can see him as Batman. It was one of those things. I'm like, he's a crazy person and a normal person.
He says, I feel it divisive more towards the Snyder Bros, who wanted this movie to fail because they hate James Gunn and they don't like the comics. He was using influence this movie. I always say this.
The funny thing is that Jack Snyder and James Gunn pulled from the same comic. Like they both loved the John Byrne Superman comics.
Yeah.
They both pulled from it. They just pulled different directions. Like
it feels like Man of Steel was pulling a lot from Right. What's the one with that's Mark Waid's origin retelling? Isn't it
Birthright?
Birthright. Yeah.
They pulled a lot out of Birthright and a lot out of John Byrne's Superman, and then James Gunn pulled the John Byrne Superman and the Jeff Loeb Superman. So he did. Their secondary comic that they pulled from was more grounded and real, or more classic and iconic, and that was just really where they pulled it from.
Also, what I was gonna say is I think movies now, like people used to make these big predictions, dude, about these movies making a lot of this money. I think we have to tailor those expectations that we used to have, because movies aren't going to be doing these big numbers constantly that we used to think, because the landscape is massively changed. I mean, people have been living under a rock. Apparently, Disney spent way more money on Deadpool and Wolverine than we thought, and they apparently didn't make as much money as we thought. So
it didn't make a lot, but it did enough for them to. The hype it generated was more than enough to get them to be excited going forward.
All right. Last few things I want to ask is, first things first, do you have anything planned coming up that you would like to let the audience know about?
I am still just working with our network. We're trying to get more shows rolled out, and not much is changing there. I mean, we very much report the news and comment on it as it comes. So we're just trying to cast a wider net now and get a couple shows relaunched to make our network a little bit bigger.
Hell yeah, man. Last thing I'll ask you, man, is do you have any shout outs you can give to anyone in particular, and anything else you want to say before you head out?
I'm drawing a blank. I didn't prepare any shout outs, so I don't think I have any right now. But I'm really excited for 2026's movies. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to see how different Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter are going to be, because they both are opposite ends of that fighting movie adaptation.
Street Fighter movie looked a lot better than I thought it was going to be.
It looks to me like the 90s movie with a real budget, and that could be great or could be absolutely terrible.
I did love the ending of the trailer where it just said, "You win." I was like, yes, they finally got it. Hopefully.
It looks so off the wall that it's either going to be a giant piece of shit, or it's going to be so much fun. So there's no in between. It's going to be one or the other.
Hell yeah. It's awesome having you on, man, again for your third appearance. Can't wait to talk to you again next year at some point during the year.
Yep.
Good.
We'll make it work probably sooner than 11 months from now.
next time we gotta talk about Power Rangers too, because I heard Power Rangers is going through another series on Disney Plus too. So
there's a lot to unpack there. A lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, man, you take care for the
You as well.
holidays. Hope you guys have a safe holidays, and thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK Show. We'll see you guys